All right, guys, so in this video, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Operating costs, managing your unit, pricing strategy, you name it. I've got Matt Fries here with me. He's pulling in on average $180,000 a year on just 8 of his oceanfront condos. On one of his units right here at this resort, he made $42,000 in profit just last year. Let's get into the video now. Matt, so you were telling me about HO6 insurance, and you mentioned something I'd never heard before. Which resort was that at? Grand Cayman?
Grand Cayman. So yes, so and this is specifically with we do a lot of different loan types, but this is specifically with DSCR loan, debt service credit ratio, right? If we're going based on there's really 4 items that depend on your debt service credit ratio. 1, will the property appraise at value and appraise the cash flow? 2, what's your credit score? And then 3, do you have the down payment source? But 4, it's the insurance, because we're basically on DSCR, we don't care what your income is, right? Your income is not calculated, but they want to make sure that if a hurricane hits, will the insurance cover the lost rent, right? So basically, some of these resorts that already have HO6 insurance policies, a lot of times they're not in the right or enough coverage for a DSCR loan. And that's because you have to, so the DSCR lenders, I don't care which wholesale lender I use, which route I go, all the DSCR lenders want lost rental income. So they want to make sure that if the building is closed down, will your insurance cover 6 months of lost rental income, right?
Wow.
So that way you don't have to pay it, right? The insurance company is going to pay it while it's closed down, which it protects you.
And that's part of your HO6 policy.
Right. A lot of times the resorts don't have that coverage. They have HO6 coverage, but they don't have lost rent HO6 coverage. The other thing is the lenders are going to want to be added as a mortgagee clause. A lot of these resorts have a master policy, so they can't add individual
units,
master insurance. So when the lender wants to make sure they get paid, they want to be added as a mortgagee clause, and a lot of these units won't do it. The other thing is deductible, right? So a lot of the wholesale lenders will, when you're going DSCR, they'll have a maximum deductible, say, each one's a little bit different, but say roughly around $2,000, right? Well, if the deductible is $2,500 or $3,000 or $5,000, which a lot of the HO6 policies at a lot of these resorts have really high deductibles.
Wow.
Well, then, so a lot of times when I have a client go under contract and they say, hey, well, this property already has HO6, a lot of times my response is, but it's probably not the right coverage that we're in.
So we're going to need to get an HO6 policy.
We're going to need.
Anyways.
So what a lot of myself and other people have done to get through closing, they get what makes the underwriter happy. A lot of times nobody really follows up after that. So as long as you have HO6 insurance policy, then it depends on the servicer that it goes to too.
So what do they charge? What do you see the typical HO6 policy rate come in at? Like how much per year?
About I'd say about $700 or $800 a year.
Pretty cheap.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like you need this huge policy, but it's something that's needed when going to DSCR. Now a lot of times if we're going full doc or bank statement or whatnot, now we've qualified that they can afford to pay this even if it doesn't rent, so it doesn't matter. But this is really a DSCR requirement.
Okay, I'm going to throw out a few quick fire questions for you. So which vacation rental program do you prefer, like as far as platform? If you had to choose a platform, what's the best platform for you?
So I'm not a fan of VRBO. VRBO is confusing. Airbnb is my top choice, especially since the type of properties that we have, that's the clientele that we're getting is Airbnb clientele. If I have friends who own oceanfront houses in North Carolina, when they have their units on VRBO and Airbnb, all their listings come through VRBO. I have them on both platforms here. all my listings come through Airbnb.
What's the deal with that?
It's I think it's a state of mind of what they advertise, right? Like, so when you're thinking, hey, I need a 2-bedroom condo,
you think Airbnb.
You think Airbnb. If I want to rent a house, you're gonna go VRBO. It's weird. Maybe it's just how they market.
All right. So, what's the craziest guest story you've ever had?
So I did have a client recently that so she
Are you trying to figure out how to say this one? Huh?
yeah. Well, so
just don't say any names.
Well, no. So usually every turnover I change the code. Well, I had one client reach out to me who was checking out on Friday night, who begged to pay extra for me not to do a 2-night minimum. I agreed, but I split up in 2 reservations where I didn't have scheduled the code change, right? So I split up in 2 rentals. So both Friday and Saturday both got the same code. The Saturday guests showed up on Friday night. They all guests entered the unit at the same time.
What? How?
They all just showed up. Happened to show up at the same time. The first guest went into the unit. They were scheduled for Saturday night. Everybody, basically the guests who saw them walk into the unit called me and said, "Hey, somebody just walked in the unit that we're supposed to be staying in tonight." So I called the other guests and I said, "Hey, are you there a day early?" She's like, "Nope, I've got it booked for the whole weekend." And I was like, and I said, "Well, no, I'm looking at your reservation. You only booked for Saturday." "Nope, I booked Friday and Saturday." And I said, "No, like, pull up your reservation and look." And she hung up on me. And so I called her back and she said, "Stop calling me or I'll call the police." And I said, "Well," and she was like,
"What?"
She said, "I need to put my 2-year-old to bed. And so if you keep calling, then I'm going to call the police." I said, "But you're not supposed to be in the unit right now." I said, "I have another unit you can rent. I can move you over to." And that's when she hung up on me, right? And so I called Airbnb and said, "How do I handle this?"
Yeah.
They said, "Call the police." So I called the police, and the police unfortunately didn't get there till 3 a.m. I luckily had another unit open. I put the other family in my other unit, but the police showed up at 3 a.m. and escorted them out. And I feel really bad because she had a 2-year-old daughter. We could have made this work, but just let's talk it through.
Yeah, don't hang the phone up on me.
Right. All right. So, I mean,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
That stinks. Okay, so any other kind of craziness like that?
We're going into complaint season. So there's
complaint season.
Yeah.
You mean the off-season months.
Yeah.
All right, talk to us. Come on, Matt. Tell us the juicy good stuff.
So complaint season, it usually starts about Labor Day.
Okay.
It started. Mine this year started on Labor Day, but it's basically people who have learned how to work the system.
All right, you got to take us to school. What does that mean?
So a lot of people get to the unit, and we're at the beach, right? So anything with metal on it will rust quickly because of salt air, the humidity.
Part of being at the beach.
Part of being at the beach. So, but what these guests will do is they'll check in, they'll zoom in. And so I have my stove, my drawer on my stove where it's I guess it rubbed, and so there's some rust right at the very top of it. I plan on putting a new stove in there, but it's not enough to. So they zoom in on that. And Labor Day weekend, I had a lady send me, I'd say 50 pictures, just like zooming in on things that like it's Airbnb. It's not Hilton Grand Resorts. It's not like I try to get there. I renovate, but anything that's metal is going to rust pretty quickly.
It's in an oceanfront condo,
right? And so they'll use that. They'll send it to Airbnb. They'll complain until all right, yes, you got a good deal for this weekend. Now they want to have 50% back. Give them 50% back. Then they find some more things and they whittle it away. And so I've learned how to deal with those guys.
How do you do it? Like, how do you stop them from taking advantage of you?
So I do try to feel out each guest individually, because sometimes you can feel if the guests are just, if they don't, like if it's a Labor Day weekend, they don't want to leave, right? They really don't want to leave. They're complaining because they want money back. And so a lot of times on Labor Day weekend, like I'll pull up and say, "There's nothing else available." I'll look, they got a really good deal. No, like basically,
I'm not giving you a discount.
No, if you want to go, and here's what I'll do a lot of times. If you would like to cancel your reservations and leave and go find something else, I will refund you for what it rebooks for. Right? You just held the unit up, right, until your booking day. I do everything I can, and so the biggest kicker is I try to please the guests instead of refund them, right? And so a lot of times I say, okay, tell you what, I'm gonna get my maintenance guy out and I'm gonna get the cleaners out. Tell them what you want them to do. And a lot of times they're like, well, I don't want to be interrupted. In reality, that's not what they want. They don't want me to fix the issue. They don't want the issue correct.
They just want their money.
They want a free stay. And so like you got to feel out the guests and figure out, are they just trying to get a free stay? A lot of times they don't want to leave. So a lot of times I give them the option. If I can tell that really they don't want to leave, they just want money, I'll give them the option to cancel and go find somewhere else to stay. And a lot of times they don't. I explained to all of them, I believe in making things right, not refunding, right?
Yep.
And so I get the maintenance out there, I get the cleaners out there, and I don't care what it costs. Make them happy. I'd rather spend that money to fix all the issues that they point out.
Because then the next guest can't complain about it.
Exactly.
And it's fixed.
Exactly.
So they try to work you.
Oh yeah, and that's this usually Labor Day till.
But why is it that time of year?
Because people want a deal. They're coming here because they want a deal, and then they want a better deal than the deal they got, and Dude,
that's nuts, man.
Yeah.
They got nothing better to do than whittle the Airbnb host out of cash.
And it's not just here. I'm on Airbnb groups. It's everyone. They're now the investment. I mean the complaint season varies, right? But it's the same thing across the board. Like I saw somebody the other day said that they were trying to get a refund because, they were trying to get a discount because of the spirits and the place was possessed, and so like apparently the spirits were ringing bells that were on the shelf, and so they didn't want to leave, they just want a partial refund.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so they would try to use any kind of excuse.
They said they had to go spend money on sage, and sage is a place to get rid of the spirits.
Okay, so I have to backtrack for a second. You had a guest take 50 pictures and send them into Airbnb?
Oh yeah. I mean,
like 50?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what sucks when they do that is like you can't respond because it's like ding 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 and it just keeps popping up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what they do. They try. I had a guest on Labor Day weekend. She wanted a partial refund because they had bugs. They South Carolina has palmetto bugs, right?
Yes.
They saw 2 palmetto bugs, one on the hallway on the way into the door,
okay,
and one was on the balcony, and so they want a refund for those 2 bugs.
But it wasn't in the unit.
No.
I mean, and they literally called you on the phone, or like you had a conversation. They said that.
Oh yeah, they reached out to Airbnb trying to get a partial refund. I pointed out to Airbnb that these bugs are not inside my unit.
They're not inside the unit.
And this isn't the first time it happened. I had a guy over in Monterey Bay. He actually complained. So he had 2 complaints. Well, 3. One, he could smell marijuana when he was out at the pool. I mean,
it's a tourist location.
It's a tourist. It's a melting pot.
I mean,
right?
like we can't control what people do at the pool.
He saw palmetto bugs down by the pool. Well, he saw roaches, but he sent pictures there. Palmetto bugs, which palmetto bugs are roaches, but they're outdoor roaches. They don't even want to be inside. But you can't treat all of Myrtle Beach or all of South Carolina.
I get it.
And then his 3rd complaint, which I understand, that I just had this unit remodeled, and I had a company come in and scrape the popcorn. Some of the popcorn fell into the AC unit, and you could see it inside on the top, which the cleaners couldn't get to. And he said there was a possibility that there was asbestos in there, which the building was built in 2000. So there's no asbestos in there, but
dude, you got to be kidding me.
So I offered to have maintenance come clean that out, but there's nothing I could do about I told him I'd call the building maintenance about see if they can find out who's smoking weed and about the palmetto bugs. There's nothing I could do, but he demanded a full refund.
He didn't get it though, right?
No, that's because he didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay.
So basically, your policy is when you have all these complaints that come in, hey, listen, I'll fix it, or you can go somewhere else.
Right.
But you won't stay for free.
Right. No. And most of the time, at that point, if they go stay somewhere else, I'm trying to make things right. So I will only refund you what it rebooks for.
Yeah.
But
now, when you say rebooks for, in other words, when the next guest checks in, that's what I'll give you back.
Yeah. So literally,
so if you booked for $650 and the next guest books for $500, you're only getting $500 back.
Right. I think that's a fair thing to do. I had a lot of mad guests during the hurricane. So I have in my listing, I highly travel. This is a business, right? And these are so I have in my listings, things can happen. I highly recommend the travel insurance, especially when traveling during the hurricane season, right?
No doubt, yeah.
So I have it in my listing. I have it in my pre-check-in email. When the hurricane came, 50% of my guests had travel insurance, the other 50 didn't. The problem is, what they said was, the travel insurance could take a couple weeks to get the funds back, right? So it would be easier for me to just refund them.
Airbnb said that to you, or the guests?
Both. Both were calling me during the hurricane saying that. But the thing is, that was $16,000. If all the bookings, if I refunded for everyone that asked for a refund, that was $16,000 for that week, right? Why is it fair to me, right, when I highly recommend travel insurance, right? And
you didn't take it.
And half of them took it, but they didn't want to file it, and the other half didn't take it.
So that's not your fault.
Right.
So a trick of the trade is to make sure that you recommend it in your listing.
Oh yeah. I make sure recommended, and I I stick to that, because again, I'm running a business. I can't just eat $16,000 because of a hurricane. That
yeah, exactly. So if you had to give somebody a handful of tips on the best tricks and tips for how to manage their business well, obviously that's one right there. We're talking about making sure you're putting in the listing, get travel insurance. Your host, am telling you to get it.
Right.
What are the other little ins and outs like that you do that kind of safeguards you?
Well, besides that, I do try to kill everyone kindness. I try to get as many great reviews as possible. So occasionally, when you have the crazy person that is, I realized before I got into this, I realized I used to DJ years ago, and I realized you can't please everyone. It's impossible to please everyone.
Okay.
So as long as you focus on pleasing the 90%, occasionally you're going to have that person that you just can't please. And at that point, you say, at this point moving forward, I want you to communicate through Airbnb. And so, yeah, they're probably going to give you a bad review, but that's that one, 10%.
Gotcha. And, did you have a story where that happened?
Oh, yeah. Just here recently, was that? One of my units here recently, she did leave me a bad review, but it was everything was out of my control. I can't remember what it was. But it was just here recently that there was no pleasing her.
So you tried and tried and tried. Everything you tried, she just shot down, basically. Right.
And then when I told her, I'd rather communicate through Airbnb, let Airbnb moderate this conversation. And I went out to Airbnb. She said the place looked nothing like the pictures. I had Airbnb, hey, look back at my previous reviews. My other 100 reviews all gave me 5 stars, and their comments, it looks exactly like the pictures. And I have one person saying it looks nothing like the pictures. So,
out of 100 people, you're probably wrong.
Right. Usually there's a underlying issue, right? Like, all right, so maybe they thought it was direct ocean front and it's ocean view, and they didn't realize that until they got here. Or maybe they got here, they went to the front desk and said, "Hey, I'm just curious, what are your rates for this week?" And the front desk said, "Oh, well, walk-ins, we're giving a walk-in discount at blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
Or, so now they're like, "Oh, if I cancel this, then I can, or,
Oh, now does that happen a lot?
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
How do you safeguard against that? They can't cancel, right?
Yeah, they can't. I have a strict cancellation policy.
Yeah.
But then, other times, like sometimes they can find a better deal last minute. But the thing is, you held my unit for the last month, right? Because you wanted to stay here, and now you saw a better deal. You can't cancel last minute.
Yeah.
And just because. So a lot of times people want to cancel because they found a better deal or something last minute. The other thing is, here the water park is not available unless you're on the rental program. You can go to this pool all you want, but the water park by the road, you need to be through the rental program.
Yep.
Well, I have that in my listing like 4 times. Oh, well, between listing and pre-check and email, I have that 4 times. And the thing is that a lot of times they don't read that, and then they get here and realize, oh, if I go in through the front desk, I can use the water park. All right, let me cancel this. Go to the front desk, and so they look for any reasons to get canceled.
Cancellation, yeah.
Right, and so a lot of times at this resort, at least, that's in my mind why they're trying to cancel. Because
now, kind of work through, because I talk with clients all the time, and I let them know that they can do great on Airbnb even though they don't use the on-site property management company, and their guests can't use things like the water park.
Oh yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, my unit here, my 906 unit that brought in 82 grand, and my expenses were 40 grand. Hold on, I'm gonna say it again, guys.
His unit here, 906, brought in $82,000, and his expenses were only 40 grand.
Right.
That's $42,000 in profit off his unit.
Right. And so so a lot of people don't care about the water park, and as long as you're transparent about it and people don't find out until they get here.
Yeah.
I make sure it's in my listing multiple times, and so that's besides that, I was afraid buying here at first that I would get a lot of people pissed off about that. I reached out to a couple of the owners that were renting through like themselves, and they all told me the same thing beforehand.
So it's an easy win for you. 42 grand in profit. That the numbers do all the talking.
Right. Right.
All right. So moving right along, let's just real quick. I want to ask you this question here. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice about investing, what would it be?
Do it sooner.
And do it sooner. And then. What about burnout? Talk to me about burnout, investor burnout, short-term rental, vacation property ownership burnout. Is it a thing? Is it real?
Oh yeah.
Do you go through it? What do you do to get through it? Just take us to school on burnout.
Well, really in off season when I get burned. Summertime, amazing. You have 0 complaints. It's hands free. But the off season is when I don't. You deal with a lot of the people that are trying to find a better deal, right?
Yep.
And so I do get a little burnout then, or a little more aggravated then. But then I talked to the wife the other day about this. I was like, man, I'm really not looking at this off season, right? But at the same time, it pays our bills.
Exactly. It's passive. It's great passive income.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you can't argue with. So, all right. So tell me just a little bit talk to me about absentee owners. I feel like when I go through a lot of the gross rental income data, you'll see like at the same exact place, you've got one unit that brings in $25,000, and another unit that brings in $46,000. You have this one unit bringing in $72,000. Why are the numbers all over the place?
In reality, how is it being managed?
It's absentee ownership, right?
Right. Because yeah, if you know, some people use, you know, the automatic pricing.
Automatic pricing software like Price Labs.
Yeah, which I'm not a fan of. You know, because I wish the way that I price out, I wish it was software for the way I price out.
How do you price out?
I mean, like I was saying, I drop the prices, so I try to fill gaps. I don't want every Friday and Saturday book, like, and then just have Monday through Friday gaps all through the month, right? Because then you can't get a 7-day rental. So I drop my price on the weekend, jack them up on the. I drop my price on the weekdays, jack them up on the weekend. Then if I have somebody check out on a Sunday or somebody check out on Monday, that Monday price is going significantly low. I'll even go to $10 with a 5-night minimum just to make sure my next booking is back to back. So that I don't like gaps.
Wow. So you are serious on the whole pricing aspect of it.
Which that pricing could be put into software, but it's not right now.
Gotcha. So again, speak to me about absentee ownership, like not managing it well. Do you feel like there are a lot of owners out there that just kind of cast their units to the side or hand it to a property manager and don't care?
Well, yeah, I think the hardest thing to determine is, where do I set my prices? Nobody can. That's the question. Every time somebody closes a unit and then they call me afterwards and say, what do I set my prices? I don't know. I say set them high, and one of the tricks I do for off season is I will do a 30-day. Basically, I have my price at $999 a night, right? I'll do, if somebody's booking 30 days, they're getting 80% off, right? But then I'm going to keep dropping my prices till I cast that reel and I reel it in until I catch one, right? Yeah. And you got to keep casting that reel it in. If you just let that slide and just like set it and forget it, one, you're going to be underpriced, or two, you're going to be overpriced.
Yeah.
So you can't just set it and forget it.
Because the market's fluctuating, it's going up and down all the time.
Right. And if you do that, your unit either might not fill, or you just totally fill it up for next to nothing.
Exactly, and you definitely don't want to do that. So in your experience, why would you think that you're so successful compared to other people not being successful?
I think because like I said, I drop the price until it fills, so I stay full. I make my units pop. I make sure the pictures are big. Pictures are huge. It has to look like the unit, right? Like you can't just can't post pictures that aren't really the unit. But besides that, it's
that easy, that simple.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it right here. Matt Fries explaining all, taking you on a deeper dive into Myrtle Beach oceanfront condo ownership. Click the screen now to see the next part of the interview with Matt Fries.